G'day everyone, my name's Cautious Pancake and today I want to check on the state of zombie force fields in Alpha 21. For those that haven't used them before, a zombie force field is what is often considered a cheesy form of building that you can use to protect an area from zombies, by controlling their pathing and ensuring that they only walk in from a direction that you choose. The cheese comes in because it utilises a top layer of blocks that the zombies don't think that they can walk on, even though they probably should be able to, because we can. To build a force field around something that you want to protect, like say this little gazebo that I knocked up using some of the new blocks in Alpha 21, you need to dig out a trench 2 blocks wide and 4 blocks deep, anywhere where you don't want the zombies to walk. To start this process, I use wood frames to block out the path that I want the trench to take, and ensure that we don't end up digging somewhere that we don't want to. Leaving one row of dirt on the inside of the force field just makes things look a little nicer once we've cleaned out the soil, and doesn't leave any obvious gaps underneath the gazebo where it joins the dirt. We continue around the 4 sides, plopping down blocks just to make sure that we know where we need to dig and where to turn the corners. Once that's done, we can start digging. I'm going to use the dev tool, simply because it's nice and quick. It's important to note that you can't do the trench the whole way around, or if you do, you need to put in a bridge over the trench at one point so that the zombies have a path to get to you. Failure to give the zombies a valid path to get to you will result in the zombies jumping over the trench and the force field completely, which I can show you at the end. Now that that's complete, we can go back and pick up our wood frames. And that's how it should look once it's 1 block deep. From there we continue digging, taking the trench down to 2 blocks deep. And once finished, it'll look like this. And we continue until it's 3 blocks deep, and then 4 blocks deep. Don't forget that when you get to 4 blocks deep, you need to bring some wood frames with you so that you've got a way to get out of the trench. Now that the trench is complete, it's time to start our top layer of blocks for the force field. For this one, I'm going to use the door trim square and rotate them to be at the top of the block, like so. We then just need to run around the trench, filling these in as we go. Then, because it's possible for us to still fall through these, we need to add another block on top. For this, we're going to use the road paint diagonal double blocks, which are there, and put these across the top, which provides us with the support to allow us to walk on them, and we can no longer fall through. Now that that's complete, let's give it a quick test to make sure that the pathing is working as expected. If we just summon in a feral to make sure that they run nice and quickly, you'll see that rather than coming straight towards us, he walks all the way around the outside and we can deal with him at the front. So that you don't have to worry about zombies sneaking up on you, place your favourite zombie greeting cards at the entrance like this, and then you don't have to worry about zombies coming up. They will be forced to go through the spikes, but we can come in from any angle that we choose, which is the whole point of the force field. So now we know that zombie force fields are still a working thing in Alpha 21, let's have a look at some of the other options and check if they're still available as well. This force field uses the cube 5 meter round O3 block with the road paint dash on top. This next option uses the cube 1/2 thin window arch and the cube 1/2 thin window. This is one of my favourite options because it doesn't require a top block on as well. Just these 2 blocks used to give it some good looks and you still can't fall through. This next option uses the arch 3 meter tip. This has always been my go-to block for the zombie force fields. And I showed it off back in a garage speed bump video back in Alpha 20 because it provides a nice smooth entrance to your garage, plus it's the only block that I'm aware of that provides complete coverage of the trench, particularly if you use some half sheets around the edges to cover up the gaps where the dirt meets the blocks. And lastly, it's worth pointing out that Alpha 21, with all of the new blocks that they introduced, has also increased the amount of blocks that we can use to make a zombie force field. Ironically, I've used one of the pieces from the gazebo here as part of the zombie force field. The gazebo roof version 1.04 block is now the block on the top level of the trench with a road paint diagonal block on top. One thing I should point out is that the original zombie force field utilised the arrow slit blocks, and I've made one quickly here just to show that the nerf that was applied in Alpha 20.1, where the arrow slit no longer worked as a zombie force field, is still in effect in Alpha 21. Now that we've got a working force field, you might be asking whether or not it works for other animals as well, and it sure does. For zombie dogs, they work just fine. The same also applies to bears, and to wolves. When using force fields though, you still need to worry about spiders, as they will happily jump across the zombie force field if they can see you. And cops, which will also happily spit at you should they be able to see you across the force field. So make sure if you're using a force field for your base defense that you consider these options and provide some other line of sight breaking walls to prevent these attacks from getting to you. Now if this is all too cheesy for you, there's no problem with just using a trench. The advantage of the force field over a trench is simply that you can walk over it without having to jump, and the zombies won't. But if you do want to go with a trench and jump your own way in, then just be aware that if zombies fall into the trench when they are staggered or knocked down, that once down there, they will smash up your foundations trying to get out. So if you do go with the trench approach, just make sure that you give the zombies a way to climb out. So there you have it. The zombie force field is alive and well in Alpha 21, with no nerfs. Actually, it's the opposite, with an increase to the number of options available coming from the massive set of new blocks that they added for Alpha 21. I hope you've enjoyed watching. If so, please tippity tap on the like button, and if you'd like to see more videos like this in future, please subscribe and come back for the next one. As always, thanks for watching and happy building.